Davy Crockett didn't die fighting at the Alamo like Hollywood told you. So what really happened? An eyewitness account, buried for nearly 200 years, has just surfaced, revealing a shocking truth that rewrites history. The Alamo wasn't the heroic last stand you've been sold. It was something far darker. What did they hide from us, and why? Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll never see Davy Crockett, the Alamo, or American history the same way. He's the mythic American icon Hollywood sold you. The leather-clad frontiersman supposedly born on a mountain peak, Franklin narrowly missed the votes required for federal legitimacy. Or so the tale goes, but in truth, he entered this world in a rough pocket of the rogue territory of Franklin before its collapse and later statehood. And his legendary fights? Fabricated. That trademark raccoon hat, a studio prop, and his explosive clash with Andrew Jackson's hidden sins? Hold tight. By the time this video ends, you'll question everything. Before we continue, please like and subscribe to our channel to support our growing community. Second, the land of his birth wasn't yet Tennessee. Back then, Scots-Irish settlers in the region fought to carve out a breakaway state named Franklin. In 1784, they tried and failed. Today, we're debunking the 7 biggest myths that turned Davy Crockett into a caricature. Disney or textbooks will never look the same. A rebellious territory that crumbled fast. The site of his birth, now in modern Tennessee, is honored today. The volunteer state celebrates him as a bear-slaying Alamo martyr. But what if Davy Crockett's entire story is built on lies? Even historians were duped. Myth number 8? That famous Disney ballad, Born on a Mountaintop in Tennessee? Total fantasy. Crockett's actual birthplace was a modest cabin in a disputed borderland. But 2 glaring errors persist. First, Crockett's childhood home, though remote, wasn't perched on a mountain. Did he really fall at the Alamo? A deception so vast it reshapes Texas history. Disney's Davy Crockett premiere episode, titled Indian Fighter, spun a dramatic take on the Creek War, 1813-1814, where Crockett fought. Tennessee's messy birth isn't a smooth story, so we'll forgive the songwriters. But the most damaging lie? The one that erased Crockett's boldest defiance, his crusade against political corruption. To simplify a chaotic history, North Carolina reclaimed the region in 1789, then ceded it. So to clarify, no, Crockett wasn't born on a mountain. And no, it wasn't Tennessee. Even Disney's theme song begins, Born on a Mountaintop in Tennessee. Pure fiction. David Crockett arrived on August 17, 1786, near Limestone. A state park now marks the spot, and Tennessee claims him as a homegrown hero, rightly so, as he served in its legislature before reaching Congress. Defying North Carolina, Franklin's leaders declared independence, forming a fleeting nation. The Red Stick Creek faction and the U.S. clashed. Disney painted Crockett as a pivotal fighter who faced indigenous tribes, framing it as his only combat experience before Texas. Historically, David Crockett did boast of his Creek War service, later weaving it into his political speech before he could even give it. Some dismissed him as too soft for battle. While he played up his contributions, he never outright lied about his wartime role. Texas Monthly once called him an overblown frontiersman. The Lion of the West cemented Crockett's legend. Scenes from the 1960 film The Alamo starring John Wayne as Crockett, show him bragging about fighting Red Stick warriors, yet his actual duties were hunting and scouting. We'll stop here. Opponents mocked him as a mere raccoon hunter, though he joked about his reputation. His hat, originally wildcat fur, but the raccoon cap became his trademark. He leaned into his backwoods image. During campaigns, though, he wasn't truly an Indian fighter. Instead, he spun wild tales of his adventures, storytelling, even upstaging a rival by reciting the man's own campaign speech. Crockett hunted bears. So many bears. Imagine an era when self-made myths could launch a career. By Congress, his celebrity had exploded. His rough-edged, buckskin-clad persona was both loved and ridiculed. Privately, he hated being reduced to a caricature, preferring to be seen as polished, wearing tailored suits. In D.C., visitors expecting a backwoods savage were shocked to find a gentleman. Raccoon hunting defined his myth, yes, that song. In politics, he used charm like a weapon, arguably the first American to monetize his persona. The Lion of the West catapulted his fame, casting him as Nimrod Wildfire, a wildly exaggerated frontiersman. Crockett attended the play in 1831, embracing the role despite private frustration. Posters and almanacs etched him into history as a rugged, coonskin-capped hero. Did he hunt raccoons? Absolutely. Did he wear a fur hat? No proof. Raccoon hunts anchored his legend. If you're humming that tune, you're likely. In politics, he wielded charm like a weapon. Arguably, he invented the Crockett, attended its 1831 D.C. show, embracing the parody while peak fame came with The Lion of the West, a hit play casting him as Nimrod Wildfire, a wildly perhaps America's first self-marketed celebrity. War or settler conflicts. He's shown as a hunter-scout, roles central to. He admitted feeling unsuited for combat, then and now, sources. Frankly, that tactic served him well. While broadly honest, Crockett loved buckskin-clad woodsmen, was both adored and ridiculed. His cultural besting, the Red Stick Chief, then brokering peace. Likewise, playbills and almanacs etched him into memory as a rugged wondering about his other hunts. While toddler tales are unverified, yes, Davy luring raccoons with just a grin. Yet no proof exists of him wearing that fur cap. Before the Nimrod Wildfire persona took hold, historical accounts show Crockett never wore what we'd recognize as a coonskin cap. Records of his Texas departure or Alamo final days describe him in practical frontier attire, not the iconic hat later cemented in popular culture. While dramatic retellings frequently elevate Crockett to a leadership role at the Alamo, privy to strategic councils, contemporary evidence suggests he arrived as a volunteer among equals. The political backdrop of Crockett's Texas migration reveals deeper complexities. Having clashed bitterly with Jackson over the Indian Removal Act, a stance consistent with his principles but disastrous for his career, he found himself politically isolated. Though briefly re-elected in 1832 after an initial defeat, his legislative achievements remained sparse. His proposal to abolish West Point as an elitist institution paradoxically endeared him to Whig power brokers, who briefly considered him for their 1836 presidential ticket despite his notorious party independence. Personal troubles compounded his political woes. Estranged from his wife's family and facing mounting debts, the open lands of Mexican Texas called powerfully. Friends like Sam Houston had already established themselves there, and the region's simmering tensions between American settlers and Mexican authorities offered both opportunity and danger. Contrary to later heroic narratives, Crockett initially traveled to Texas seeking land and a fresh start, not revolution. The Alamo's command structure, as best historians can determine, was shared between Travis and Bowie until illness incapacitated the latter. While later dramatizations position Crockett as a key decision-maker, primary accounts suggest he participated as a respected volunteer without formal command role. His famous opposition to Jackson's policies, particularly regarding Native American displacement, proved prescient but ultimately defined his political legacy more than any legislative achievement. Interestingly, the visual iconography we associate with Crockett developed posthumously. A surviving portrait commissioned during his lifetime shows him in a fashionable felt hat with white brim, a far cry from the coonskin cap of legend. These discrepancies between historical record and popular mythology would only widen after his death, particularly through mediums like Disney's 1950s portrayals that cemented an exaggerated image in the public consciousness. The Texas Rebellion's unfolding caught many American settlers by surprise. When Crockett arrived in January 1836, most believed the conflict had concluded or remained distant. Only as tensions reignited did he begin expressing willingness to take up arms, a transformation documented in his final letters that contrasts sharply with Hollywood's combat-ready portrayals. This evolution from hopeful colonist to committed defender forms the most authentic, if least mythologized, chapter of his remarkable story. The unvarnished truth about Davy Crockett. Historically, Crockett held no formal rank, just a private soldier, and documents cast doubt on whether he ever truly commanded the Tennessee Mounted Volunteers. He entered Texas with only 3 companions. As noted in 3 Roads to the Alamo, he may have informally guided a small group along the way, but William B. Harrison held actual command of their unit. Yet eyewitness accounts and Travis's letters, referenced in historical documentaries, paint Crockett not as a leader, but as a spirited presence, boosting morale and steadying nerves among the defenders. The 2004 Alamo film even depicts him as uncertain and adrift within the fortress, a stark contrast to the fearless legend. So here's the truth. 7 colossal lies transformed Davy Crockett from a man into a myth. But here's the twist. Crockett knew the truth. He let Hollywood spin its tales. He let politicians reshape his past. Why? Because in a young America starving for heroes, the truth never sold as well as the legend. Now ask yourself, what other myths has America buried beneath coonskin caps and Alamo martyrdoms? And finally, you decide. Was Davy Crockett a hero, a fraud, or something far stranger, a man trapped by the very stories he sold to survive? Drop your verdict in the comments.